everyone, and welcome to another episode of GodSaw's Turnbuckle, the wrestling video podcast I run over here on youtube.com/UC Campbell. This is going to be done in a little bit of a different format this week, not only in the terms of how I present it, though for people who are watching this later, this won't be any different. I'm not going to be airing this live like I traditionally do. I'm going to try to go back to that next week on that one, but I had not really been feeling up to it this week, up to most things this week. Haven't been feeling all that great. I'm feeling better at this moment. I'm actually filming this very late on a Sunday. And like I said, we're also going to be kind of cutting out a few of the things that we traditionally do as well, such as the news section. We're not going to talk about the news section because we're going to go right into it. From the week that was on WWE side, I did not get to watch a lot of independent stuff. And we are going to talk about that Monday Night Raw from November 26, 2018. And well, the reason why I didn't, talk about this sooner in the week was because I didn't get to watch Raw live. So we'll be fair on that one. So let's be fully fair on that one. I didn't get to watch Raw live as it aired this week. And of course, in the senses of everything, I had been hearing everything going on. I was hearing everything that was going on for the next day or so, either through podcasters or through Twitter and everything to go along with that, how bad the show was, how abysmally bad Monday Night Raw was. So I hadn't watched it at the time, and I didn't want to go into watching that show with eyes, closed. I wanted my eyes to be open to the show and to see, was it really that bad? Or was it an okay show that people were overblowing in proportion to everything? And it is safe to say on this one that, well, that Monday Night Raw was that bad. And it's not bad for a lot of the reasons that people were really going with. I get the storyline that they were going for throughout the entire night, which was pretty much Baron Corbin running roughshod over everybody else who kind of sided with not Baron Corbin, but with Braun Strowman. But there are certain glaring areas in the show that just, it didn't sync up with what they were going for on that side of everything. First of all, okay, they had just put Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre, and Baron Corbin together. So they started off the show in the ring. They were giving thanks for everything that they were thankful for because of Thanksgiving and insulting the crowd, doing the typical heel shtick to go along with it. The thing that they don't really ever make mention to in their story is like, okay, so now Drew McIntyre is with Baron Corbin. He's not with Dolph Ziggler anymore. And we got no blow off to that in any way, shape, or form. So there was no blow off to the Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre stuff. And he's a henchman again, where just a few weeks ago he was saying Raw is his now. Like, it makes little sense with where they were going with it. I get they were scrambling. They've been scrambling for storylines based off of what had happened with Roman Reigns getting sick, everything to go along with that. And they've been shuffling a lot of things around. I mean, they've made Elias a babyface now, which he does interrupt them in that opening segment to go along with it. And they just go ahead and they perform a beatdown throughout this entire thing. It was pretty much the same from last week as well. It was a beatdown of Elias, Finn Balor, and Braun Strowman last week. And it was again with this week being a beatdown of Elias and Finn Balor. But the problem with this one was there was... okay, you get it last week. They weren't able to help last week because they weren't fully seeing where everything is going. But you saw moments throughout the entire Monday Night Raw where the babyfaces are like, hey, this is going to happen. And then it looks like they're playing smart. And then they do something not smart. Like, you had a promo from Finn Balor before his match with Baron Corbin saying that more than likely this is going to become a handicap match. because of what Baron Corbin's been doing, because he was changing the rules throughout the night. And in Bobby Lashley's match with Elias, he changed the rules to a no DQ match afterwards, where they beat down Elias and Lashley wins. And let's not get that wrong. That reverse Alabama slam to the stairs was a sick looking spot. But I get where the story's going on this one to go along with it. But when you have Finn Balor during the main event have his match with Baron Corbin, and then Baron Corbin's about to lose, he gets out and makes it a handicap match, and Finn acts surprised, where he had just cut a promo, like not even a half an hour or not even an hour before that, saying, hey, this is probably what's going to happen. Just gonna have to go through with it. It's like he was playing a moment of being smart and being prepared for it, and then he acts completely shocked when it happens. It makes zero sense. They could have, like, it felt like they could have just gone with a better facial reaction with that one. Honestly, if Baron Corbin, it would have worked out better if Baron Corbin goes out there, he makes the handicap match, and instead of Finn acting all surprised about it, he just rolls his eyes. It's like, here we go, and whatever on that one. But that's not really the other problem with it, because at this point in time, the baby faces should have recognized it, because it happened last week, and they're recognizing that it happens this week. So why aren't they starting to try to stand up and help each other? That's the aspect behind the story that they're missing. And maybe that's something that they do next week on that side of everything. And maybe it fixes it up a little bit. I don't know. But this Raw itself, not only did the storylines just not work to what they were doing, it ended up being a rather boring show to go along with it, because not only did yes, we get a good match with Dolph Ziggler and Seth Rollins, but how many times have we seen that one-on-one on Raw in the last 3 months? It's been a good chunk of times, and we've seen it on pay-per-view as well to go along with it. And same with Finn Balor and Baron Corbin. We've seen that multiple times on Raw. We've seen it on pay-per-view a couple of times to go along with that in just the last 3 to 4 months. So you had these moments of being just spinning your wheels, and it just continually is like boring throughout the entire thing to go along with it, because we've seen it so much. Yes, it was good. Like, yes, the Seth Rollins Dolph Ziggler match was good, and I was glad that the Falcon Arrow, or the Superplex Falcon Arrow combination, actually won the match. But that doesn't save the fact that you could have sent anyone out there other than Dolph Ziggler to do the open challenge. In all fairness to that, it's a good match. I understand that. But we've seen it so often. And with a show that was getting kind of spinning its wheels throughout the entire show, you could have done something to change it up a little bit. And it's like, oh, hey, here's something fresh. Here's something new. Here's something that we can probably sink our teeth into, and everything to go along with that. And this is not a knock on the performers themselves throughout the entire show. Let's be fair with that one. It was the booking of the show that was the biggest problem of this one. Because the matches themselves were absolutely fine. I thought they were pretty decent matches on the show. It was just how you got booking of people saying one thing and then reacting another way later to go along with it. You had Baron Corbin backstage. He makes Alexa Bliss the runner, makes her in charge of the Raw Women's Division, and he basically goes like, and the only reason why he does it is like, it makes sense. You look good. I look good. Makes total sense. You're in charge now. It's like, what? Okay, I get where they're going with this. I kind of get where they're going with the storyline. And it makes it feel like that, yes, maybe the storyline is going to go to some kind of embarrassing loss for Baron Corbin down the line. Maybe at the TLC pay-per-view. But things just, like, you got a lot of the same. and then you get stuff that was really, really bad to go along with it. Like Lucha House Party and the Revival. Let's be fair. They just did that last week. And then, of course, Revival go out there, it's like saying, hey, that was not fair with the Lucha House Party rules, everything to go along with that. We're going to have a normal tag team match this week, and then what gets announced? Lucha House Party rules. And the baby faces have the 3-on-2 advantage. That doesn't necessarily work to them being baby faces to go along with it. And of course, it just, plays off of that. Like I said, the match itself was fine to go along with it. But then you all of a sudden give the baby faces a handicap stipulation, which just is kind of, that one's okay. It's a little out there. It's new at least. We'll give it that one. It's at least new, but it just doesn't work on that one, especially when you have them going off on everything. Like Baron Corbin says he's in complete control and complete in charge and everything, and then you have Corey Graves going like, he knows nothing about this. Wait a minute, how do you not know anything about this, Baron Corbin? Like, the continuity between segments is not there at this point in time, and it came off really, really bad. Now, don't get me wrong, there are little bits and pieces that I did like. Oddly enough, like there was the little bits and the pieces in there that I did end out liking. I do like the aspect of the continuity. There is some continuity in there, and there's continuity in Baron Corbin with everything that he's doing. On that side of everything, because he's punishing everybody who had something to do with Braun Strowman or who's not with him. So later in the night, Ember Moon comes out for a match with Alicia Fox, and then it was announced that her mixed match tag team partner is, of course, no longer going to be Braun Strowman. It's now going to be Kurt Hawkins, and you could just see the despair in her face. She does not like it, everything to go along with it. And they even depict that a little bit more going into the match on Tuesday to go along with it. Which, by the way, the Raw matches on Mixed Match Challenge, far better. Far better than anything you saw on Monday Night Raw. We'll go along with that one. On that side of everything. Ember Moon wins that match rather quickly on that side of everything. It was a rather short match. And as Kurt Hawkins is celebrating with her and trying to pretend like, hey, he actually got a win for once in the last so many years and everything to go along with that. I think they marked it as 236 straight losses at the time, which at least they're giving him the storyline. So hopefully, they come up with something good to in that storyline at some point in time. I feel like that's one of those, you got to do something to end that storyline where he actually gets a win. Obviously, he doesn't do that this week on Mixed Match Challenge or anything to go along with that. But then right afterwards, you had Ember Moon and Alicia Fox have a match. You had Jinder Mahal out there, who is Alicia Fox's mixed match tag team partner. You would imagine if they're doing another match with Jinder Mahal, that it should just be Kurt Hawkins. No, it's No Way Jose. He just comes back out of nowhere and has a match with Jinder Mahal. No heat to the match. Pretty much a squash match. Jinder Mahal goes over on that side of everything. It was not... It was just boring. It was just boring, and it was crap. And Raw just, yeah. It's one of those moments of... It's one of those moments, I don't ask myself why I was watching the show, but I could tell I was just being bored. And to be all honest with you, I'm shocked I got through this in one sitting. Because, like I said, I rewatched it, eyes unclouded by everything that had been spewed out earlier in the week, though I'm kind of saying a lot of the same things that go along with that, in all fairness at this time. And I was shocked that I was able to get through the entire thing in one sitting. It was literally one sitting. I did not It wasn't multiple or anything to go along with that. But yeah, just overall a bad Raw. And then you had Nia Jax's promo with Tamina on Ronda Rousey, which, you know what, a lot of people said this was absolutely terrible. I'm not gonna say that there. It wasn't that bad. Though Nia does come off as trying a little too hard, of playing like smiley, but also very mean to people to go along with it. As she was cutting her promo over on Ronda Rousey, Ronda comes out, her promo with with Nia was all right. As soon as Ronda gets herself out of the smiley mode, where, you know, how she walks out, she's always smiles and everything, because I can legitimately see in her face that she enjoys going out there and being in front of the crowd. But at this point in time, she needs to cut that portion out and kind of already be in the mean mode, because as soon as she got into the trash talking with Nia, promo good at that point in time. But so you kind of want to keep her in that mode, but it's not really clicking on that side. Nia goes ahead and says, it's like, because Tamina and Nia surround Ronda, so they look like they're going to attack, and then she's like, no, we're not waiting on, or it's like, no, we're not going to attack you, we're just stalling for time. Stalling for time? For what? You have the 2-on-1 advantage. Natalya comes out to make it look like she was going to help. The Riot Squad attack Natalya out of nowhere. Ronda chases off the Riot Squad and attacks them, and Nia and Tamina do nothing. Like, the segment was literally all over the place. I have no idea on that one. Literally no idea on that particular one. Like I said, there were little bits and pieces in there that I thought were actually pretty good. And of course, Nia's still playing off the heat that she got for taking Becky Lynch out of the Survivor Series match to go along with that. So, you know, they're at least playing up to that a little bit more. And I thought the promo itself was okay, a little bit over the top. Way over the top. Like, there's an aspect of being over the top and then going so far over the top that it's like, yeah, no, on that one. And that's where Nia kind of was there, but the promo wasn't as bad as what people were really saying, in all fairness to it. Another little segment that I did like to a certain degree, and it wasn't the actual open forum, but when Alexa Bliss was saying that they had the open forum. So you had Sasha and Bayley backstage. They were doing their typical talking, and Alexa walks up to him and it's like, hey, I've got something for the two of you. I love the aspect that Bayley used the line. It's like, if this is another This Is Your Life thing, I want nothing to do with it. I like the continuity of bringing up that horrible segment from last year, because it actually makes the babyface seem smart. It's like, no, we're going to do an open forum. The fans are going to ask questions, everything to go along with that. You kind of know where this is going to go. But it ended up being even worse than where they could have really gone with on that side of everything. So when they got to the open forum, Alexa Bliss is trying to find someone for a question. She's continually mocking each person she's looking at initially. It's like, or trying to be pretentious till she finds somebody who's jumping up and trying to find the plant, basically. So she's doing her thing on that one. And the person asks what you would kind of expect to be the generic question. It's like, what changes would you make with the women's division? Bayley gives a generic kind of corporate-esque answer. It's like, no real changes, just opportunities to go along with it. It's like, okay, not the worst answer, kind of meh, kind of basic answer, nothing special to it. They could have gone better places with it. Sasha throws her joke out. And then, of course, Alexa runs them both down for being in a tag team and everything to go along with that. If this is their way of trying to introduce the women's tag team titles, this is the wrong way to do it on that side of everything. And then Bailey, this was hilarious because even the way she said it made it seem like she was trying so hard to be cool by saying a curse word. It was cringeworthy because it's like Sasha goes and says, I would ship you back over to SmackDown where you came from, or where you initially were. And then Alexa runs down both Sasha and Bailey, and then Bailey goes like, you know what? No, I've got a better idea. We'll send her back to hell where she came from. And she said it in such a way, it's like, I'm gonna try to sound cool by saying a curse word. That's literally what I did. That is literally what I did when I saw it. I was like, oh my God. And then Mickie James, Alicia Fox, and Dana Brooke attack, which, by the way, wasn't it just Saturday? And I know they aired it on Sunday, but wasn't it just Saturday that Dana Brooke was teaming with Sasha and Bailey? And is it too much to ask for continuity? I think it might be at this point in time. It might just be too much to ask for continuity, at least on Monday Night Raw. We got continuity on SmackDown, at least. Like I said, the other two, well, if you go for full shows, if you count the Mixed Match Challenge to go along with that, we did get at least 3 pretty good shows this week. SmackDown was good, it wasn't great. NXT was actually pretty good to go along with it. And the Mixed Match Challenge was actually kind of fun to go along with that as well. It was just Raw. It was just Raw. But, yeah, Dana Brooke attacks. Now she's apparently heel without any real rhyme or reason behind it. I don't know. And then, of course, since, it was a 3-on-2 situation, which is kind of, they did do the reverse here, because throughout the entire night, pretty much everybody in the bad number situation had been gotten beaten down. Sasha and Bailey actually fend them all off and chase them all away on that one. That segment, at least it wasn't as bad as Bailey, This Is Your Life. At least it wasn't that bad. Could have been that bad. But even then, they could have had, like, if they did an open forum like that, it could have been a nice way to have either Sasha or Bailey make mention to, hey, why don't we have tag team titles for the women's division? Something on that side. Actually hearing something like that being said. Where, yeah, Alexa Bliss said, oh, you're just in a tag team now, as it was a bad thing to go along with it. It's like, if this is their way of trying to introduce the women's tag team titles, not a good way of going, at least on my side of everything. And yeah, just overall, the show like I said, it had decent matches in it, and I don't mind the storyline. And I haven't even really talked about AOP and Chad Gable and Bobby Roode, which that's a whole nother area. At least they were congruent with the storyline, with what they were going with Drake Maverick and everything to go along with that, playing off of the fact that, well, he we'll just say it properly, he pissed himself at Survivor Series, so they're continuing off of that. At least I guess there was some continuity there, but why did it have to be with that? Why did it have to be with that? And even really go along with that as well, you had Drake Maverick take Bobby Roode's robe during the tag team title match with AOP. He takes it to the back, and he causes a distraction while going to the bathroom, and this causes the distraction for AOP to win the match, just like at Survivor Series. It's like, well, at least he tried to make it funny, to its own degree. He did, and maybe that was one of the biggest problems of this show, was that there was a lot of attempts at comedy to go along with it, and maybe you didn't really necessarily get that much variety out of it. Not to mention the whole Dean Ambrose thing to go along with that as well. And they did do a bit where Braun Strowman was cutting a promo, they said, in Birmingham, Alabama, getting ready for his surgery. Why would Braun talk because Baron Corbin says, like, I had cameramen follow Braun Strowman out there while he was prepping for surgery. Why would he talk to his cameramen in any way, shape, or form? He cut a decent enough promo. And they do make mention that the match is still going to be on for TLC, and Corbin just expects a forfeit at this point in time. Again, that portion, that's fine. I get where they're going with the storyline. I know where they're going with that one. It's just there's a lot of extra continuity in there that they could. It wouldn't take them that much time to really do it. That would just make it seem a little bit more logical. Like, are the baby faces going to stand up to the heels? I mean, it's been happening for like kind of multiple weeks now that these guys have been doing this, and yet the baby faces don't team up together. Yeah, like during the beatdown for Finn Balor at the end of the show, did they ever announce that? I don't think they ever announced that Elias was going to local medical facility or hospital on that one. So why don't you just have Elias, and you can continue the beatdown. So why not just have Elias come out there while Finn's getting beaten down to try to help sell the stuff from earlier? To go along with it. He wants to help, but he can't. There you go. It's like just small little things that could have made that one better. I don't even really know if I want to go to the spot with Dean Ambrose where he was in a doctor's office, which, let's just say the ambiance of Monday Night Raw was slightly off. On that one. It did not look like in any way, shape, or form that he was in any kind of doctor's office, because I don't know a doctor's office that looks like a locker room. Literally, that's what it looked like. It's like literally it's like we shot it we set it up in a locker room, and let's just make it seem like it's one. Okay, it's fine. Don't worry about it. On that side of everything, because you could tell just by the brick walls, everything on that side. It's like, you just shot this backstage somewhere. They didn't really put that much effort into actually trying to make it look like a doctor's office, as he's getting injections for like different types of diseases, everything to go along with that. Coming off a little bit more on the goofy side of it, back to almost goofy Dean Ambrose versus more menacing Dean Ambrose that we've been seeing recently. And of course, they also had Renee Young still not knowing anything, though she apparently knows that Elias talks about his emotions, but she doesn't get the emotions of her own husband. It, like, again, continuity is a little bit weird with what they're going with, and honestly, I don't really want to talk much about Monday Night Raw anymore. It was bad. It was bad. I was, like I said, I went into it with eyes unclouded, everything to go along with that, but I'm on agreement with a lot of people. I'm not going to say it was worst Raw ever. It was probably one of the worst this year, if not the worst this year, or in the past couple of years. There's some of them in 2010 that I would probably say would be a little bit worse to go along with that. We can't give a nod to 94 and 95's Raws because those were only an hour long. So even though those were really, some of those were really bad, they were only an hour versus 3. Just saying on that one. So let's roll it into SmackDown. SmackDown, I thought was, well, it couldn't be worse than Raw. I don't think they could pull, if they managed to pull that off of SmackDown, that would have been insane. If they would have been able to pull off, hey, somehow we made this show worse than Raw. Well played. You're almost waiting for that moment. You're waiting for that moment. It's like, oh, you thought Raw was bad. SmackDown be like, hold my beer. No, they didn't go that route. It was actually a fairly decent SmackDown. It wasn't great by any stretch of the imagination, but it was a fairly good show. Becky Lynch returns, cuts a promo on being held, basically being held down, and now that she's out of doctor's jail, she calls out Charlotte Flair, calls her out for basically channeling her her inner Becky Lynch to go along with that. But Charlotte comes back with like, no, I'm just being myself on that one, and Paige just grants Charlotte another match at TLC with Becky Lynch for the SmackDown Women's title. So they've been playing off that aspect of, you know, Becky's kind of been right. Charlotte just kind of keeps getting opportunities handed to her, and handed to her, and you can tell that they're being a little bit more. They're being a little bit more of Charlotte's being a heel more and more now, while Becky's kind of still being what she was when she turned on Charlotte, but you can kind of see she's more the baby face in the side of everything. And then Paige makes it a TLC match, and here's the real good thing about this one, because they've never done a TLC match in the women's division. And they have obviously done a ladder match because of the Money in the Bank ladder match, but they've never done the TLC stipulation. Every time that we've always gotten one of those first evers for the women's division, everything to go along with that, they spout it all over the place like first ever to go along with that. Paige didn't do that here. She was like, you know what? I'm going to make the match between Charlotte and Becky for the SmackDown Women's title, and because of your history, I'm going to make this a TLC match. It's like, we don't have to just spew that it's the first one? Awesome. I'm okay with this, because I'm going to be very intrigued to watch this match. And then the heels ended out interrupting, and Mandy Rose, like, why don't we get the shots? You're only catering to Becky and Charlotte at this point in time. Why aren't we getting shots? The faces come out, they agree, and Paige makes a battle royal, and the winner was going to be added to the pay-per-view match, which I thought was a good way of going. You had the Usos going up against the Bar, and we had another episode, let's throw this one out there, we had another episode of As the Big Show Turns, because they had a backstage segment. The Sheamus and Cesaro were giving the business to Big Show for what happened the week before. Big Show gives the KO punch to Cesaro, and there we go. As the Big Show turns, which led into the Usos versus the Bar, which was a good match. Kind of what you would expect with the Bar and the Usos. The SmackDown tag division far better than Raw division at this point in time for the tag teams. The Usos ended up picking up the victory, which would imagine that we'll see something with the Usos and the Bar down somewhere down the line here. Matter of fact, I think they announced that it was going to be the Bar versus the New Day versus the Usos for the tag team titles at TLC. So we're going to be having something on that side as well. You had the New Day backstage. I thought this was fantastic, because they were laughing at something, and Miz was coming in and it's like, oh, so you guys are Mariners, people who are fans of the Marine series. It's like, no, and I love how he went with like this one. It's like, no, we're not watching the Marine 6 starring Becky Lynch on that one. I like that little bit. No, we were just watching your loss from last week, and they were just pulling off everything between the Wayne and Dane thing from the Wayne and Dane Bryant brothers on that one. It was like, so who's the one who pinned you? Wayne or Dane or Kane or Sane? And then Big E pulls out a picture of Kairi Sane to go along with it. I was like, okay, this was well played. You had AJ Styles cut a promo on Daniel Bryan. I actually liked this promo. It was kind of straightforward, but it was given with a lot of fire and everything behind it. So I did thoroughly enjoy AJ Styles' promo on that one. He basically said it wasn't the aspect of how he lost or the factor of losing. It was the factor of Daniel Bryan continually beating him down after the match and basically causing him to miss Survivor Series and the SmackDown beforehand to go along with that. He makes a burn at Monday Night Raw on there, basically saying it's like, oh, Daniel Bryan's not here this week. He must be taking a lesson from Monday Night Raw and seeing how they're doing things over there, and he's not here where he didn't miss anything. And actually, we'll go ahead and talk about this one a little bit more as well. So you had a Lars Sullivan promo, which you saw on Monday Night Raw as well. They're billing him as a free agent, and they're calling him the hottest free agent in the WWE. When John Cena is literally a free agent. Well played on that one. I do like how they're hyping up Lars Sullivan on this side of everything. So I thought that was, I thought this was a pretty, I thought there was a couple of pretty good segments there. And I would like to see more segments, or at least like a segment on Raw and a segment on SmackDown, like where either Shane or Paige or like Stephanie or Baron are on the phone or something like that, trying to talk to Lars Sullivan to try to convince him to come over. I would like to see some, like billing him as a free agent. I would like to see something like that on that one. Like they're trying to cater to him to get him to come to Raw or SmackDown. It would be nice to actually see something like that and make it feel like the brand split means something on that side of everything. You were going to have Shinsuke Nakamura going up against Rusev, but Shinsuke Nakamura lays out Rusev before the match even begins and hits him with 2 Kinshasas. It looks like we're going to have something between the two of them, but obviously no match there. So we had a celebration with Jeff Hardy. So I think it was 20 years of him being signed to the WWE. They had a great video package, everything on the one. He cuts a promo, thanking the fans, saying that, hey, this is not a retirement speech. We're going to continue going on. Let's see where the path leads. Samoa Joe comes out and interrupts. And let's be 100% fair. This was absolutely fantastic. His promo was fantastic. I love Shane McMahon's little bit as well in there, because you had Shane come out, or you had Samoa Joe come out, and it was like, I was gonna open up a couple bottles of champagne and bring it out, but then it's like, it's not necessarily the best idea around you knowing, well, your past with drinking to go along with it. So he started bringing up all of his past problems, all of Jeff Hardy's past problems, and like Shane McMahon is like, no, and then Jeff's like, no, let him go, and it's like, and the other line was just like, Joe goes out there, says, it's like, that's a great video package that they made for you. It's a great thing that they made it, because you probably weren't coherent enough to even remember any of that stuff. And just, I absolutely like the promo that they came up with on that one. It was definitely a great promo on that side of everything. And it looks like we're going to get, and we're getting new feuds to go along with it. We got Jeff Hardy going up against Samoa Joe. I know we've seen a one-on-one match before Survivor Series, but it will be interesting to see it in full feud mode at this point in time. You had Kofi Kingston going up The Miz. I thought this was a pretty decent match. Kofi picks up the victory when Miz wanted to use a chair. Xavier Woods pulls the chair out of the ring. So you had Miz basically trying to cheat at every facet on this one. But either Big E would do something silly to prevent it from happening, or you would have Xavier like take the chair away, which causes Kofi to hit the Trouble in Paradise. Even to the point that I think Miz took off the turnbuckle pad, but Big E takes like a stack of pancakes as Miz was going to go hit Kofi with it, and just puts it in front of there. It's like, the look on Big E's face just was like, yeah, I came up with this idea. It was silly, but it was that funny kind of silly to go along with it. And I thought it came off pretty good with Kofi picking up, and then Kofi does pick up the victory. I do like how Corey Lambas is, saying that it's a 3-on-1 situation, which it technically is. It is a 3-on-1 situation, but the aspect of the New Day is that they only get involved when somebody starts cheating. They never really get involved otherwise, which is kind of weird to how they usually go off on that one, because you would imagine in their usual 3-on-2 situations that they should never lose those tag team titles. But whenever it looks like they're about to lose, the other person doesn't actually interfere. It's kind of interesting how they actually do things with the New Day on that one. But I do like the aspect of Corey getting on their case for the 3-on-1 situation. Just kind of gives it a little bit more continuity to that. Though of course if it was being done by any of the heels, of course Corey Graves absolutely loves it at that point in time. So Corey just being a heel on that one, I actually do like that aspect. You had Randy Orton coming out. He talked about what he did last week, taking the mask of Rey Mysterio. And it's like, he says, he's like, I don't bother to, get myself into the culture or understanding that. I didn't do this to insult the Lucha Libre culture. I did it to just embarrass Rey Mysterio. That was all that he did it for, to go along with it. And he says, like, taking his mask off was like a euphoric moment of doing that, wanting to just embarrass him throughout the entire thing, and basically saying that he's going to be one of his other victims. Rey Mysterio comes out. They start to brawl, and they do start to brawl. And it looks like Rey did have a protective neck brace on for around his throat, because he had gotten thrown into the pit post with the chair from the week before, and that eventually gets ripped off. It looked like Mysterio was going to be in control for a bit there, but then gets hit with a draping DDT, and then Orton uses the chair again to the throat on the outside to end the segment. I thought that was pretty good, and they're definitely going in that more malicious way with Randy Orton, and it really works out a lot better. You had a backstage segment with Miz and Shane, which makes it feel like Miz is like, where were you? Where were you in that match? I needed my tag team partner. And Shane starts talking, is like, I had things I needed to get done, everything that go along with that. And then he's like, you're not even listening to me, because Miz is over there trying to like get a spot off of the trophy for the World Cup. This was some pretty good stuff. I liked what they're going with in there. And we'll see where they're going to go with this one. Is it going to be an aspect of a Shane heel turn, or is it going to be an aspect of, a Miz face turn somewhere down the line? It'll be interesting to see where they go with this one. So this led to the main event of the night, which was the Battle Royal, and the winner was going to be added into the Becky Lynch-Charlotte TLC match at the pay-per-view. I thought this was a pretty good Battle Royal, though they didn't really keep going with certain other storylines. And that side of everything, it was kind of just a Battle Royal. I thought it was pretty good, though. I definitely did like the ending sequences to this particular one, especially with Asuka and Sonya Deville. Sonya Deville's been showing a lot inside of, at least in the in-ring side of everything. The final four came down to, I believe, Naomi, Asuka, Mandy Rose, and Sonya Deville. I think it was that way, because Naomi eliminates Mandy Rose and then immediately gets eliminated by Sonya Deville. This started the ending sequence where even at some point you had like the crowd kind of gasp a little bit on this one, thinking like, hey, Sonya Deville is going to be the one added, because Sonya throws Asuka over the top rope. She lands on the apron, but Mandy Rose tries to take Asuka off the apron at that time. And then you had a good fight sequence between the two of them on the ring apron before Asuka hits the lifting knee, throws Sonya Deville up and hits the rising knee to eliminate Sonya Deville and win the match and get added into the TLC match. It is now a triple threat with Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, and Asuka. That could be a really good match. That one could be a really good match. SmackDown, like I said, overall was pretty good. I did enjoy it. Was not great. Was not the best. But at least it wasn't Raw. It was actually quite good. It wasn't one of those like overly special shows or anything to go along with that, but there was no way that they could be any worse than Monday Night Raw at that point in time. Mixed match challenge this week I thought was pretty good. They started the playoffs with everything. You had Kurt Hawkins and Ember Moon going up against Jinder Mahal and Alicia Fox. You have Ember Moon come out, she's doing her normal shtick, and then Kurt Hawkins' music hits, and you just see her face like, ugh. Do that, like, a bit to it. The thing is that they've kind of taken a bit of the comedy away, which has kind of been the shtick of the Mixed Match Challenge. Now that they've gotten to playoff side, now they're playing the matches a little bit more as traditional matches to a certain degree. They're being a little bit more serious on that side of everything. You had a little bit of comedy in this one. The ending comes with Ember Moon hitting the Eclipse on Alicia Fox, but Kurt Hawkins forgot the rules, so he had tagged himself in and thinks he could just pin Alicia Fox, which was not the case based off the mixed tag stuff. If he tags in, Jinder becomes legal. Jinder Mahal hits the Colossus, they pick up the victory and move on to the Raw final. And then you had not Becky, but you had Bobby Lashley and Mickie James going up against Finn Balor and Bayley. This was actually a fairly good match, a fairly entertaining match. You had your shtick, some of the shtick with Lio Rush in there, messing around with Finn Balor, also tripping up Bayley at one point in time as well, just to kind of give that tension of like, oh, is Mickie and Bobby Lashley going to go to the finals, which they kind of played with what they went into the other side of Mixed Match Challenge, where they had faced each other earlier in there during the round robin side. Mickie James and Bobby Lashley won there, but when it comes to the playoffs, all of a sudden, flip-flop, Bayley and Finn end out winning when Bayley hits Mickie James with the Bayley to Belly. I thought this was a pretty good match. I do enjoy the Mixed Match Challenge. It's an easy half an hour watch each week. And it's actually, and again, it's a lot more freeform. And I feel like you get some better matches out of it just because it feels like everybody there is just kind of on an easier flow. It's a lot easier to get through on that side. I thought it was pretty good. And I thought this week's one was pretty good to go along with it. It will be interesting to see what they decide to do for the finals based off of the aspect of who's in matches at TLC, because the finals are supposed to be at TLC. But you have Finn Balor in a match. You have him in a match now because he's facing Drew McIntyre at TLC. You have Asuka and Charlotte in the TLC match, and those are like the three massive stars of that one. And of course, you have Jeff Hardy now teaming up with Charlotte because they took AJ Styles out because he's having a match with Daniel Bryan. So it'll be interesting to see if either somebody pulls double duty at the pay-per-view, or do they eliminate these three teams in some way, shape, or form before the actual pay-per-view itself? It'll be interesting to see what they decide to go with. NXT for this week was a pretty good one as well. You had the Mighty going up against Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan actually end up picking up the victory in the match, which was a pretty decent opening match. And then the Mighty regained their heat back by beating down Lorcan and Burch afterwards. I thought that was a pretty good way of going on that one. You had EC3 going up against it was Marcel Barthel. Kind of squash match to it. Decent enough, showing EC3 back and everything to go along with that. You had a hype package for Dijakovic, or Donovan Dijakovic, or Chris Dijak on that one. And they basically have him saying, he's like, feast your eyes. And they have this massive close-up on his eyes. And it's like, feast your eyes. It's like, okay. You also had a promo from Tommaso Ciampa on there where he wants everybody to, follow his lead. Follow his lead. That's his new thing. It's like he comes off as a person who doesn't want to help anything, but he wants everyone to follow his lead. He's kind of coming off kind of cult leader-esque in that side of everything. At least that's how it feels. It's not bad. It's not bad. You also have Mia Yim going up against Vanessa Bourne. That was a pretty decent match with Mia Yim going over with the Eat Defeat, which they actually call it the Eat Defeat. They called it something different. They called it Soul Food during the Mae Young Classic, but they're calling it Eat Defeat again. Vanessa Bourne's sell of the Eat Defeat was actually pretty good to go along with it. And I think that was the name of the move anyway, back even when Gail Kim was back in the WWE, she used that move, and I think they called it Eat Defeat then, and they'd always called it outside of WWE as well, so they're calling it that now. Then you had Keith Lee going up against Lars Sullivan, and this was a very, very good match. Good match between two big guys on that one. You know, Keith Lee being able to show his athleticism and the fact that he's able to do a lot more, even though he's a bigger guy on that one. But it does come down to the end where Lars Sullivan hits the freak accident and picks up the victory. Making it feel like that maybe Lars Sullivan's not completely done with NXT at this point in time. But it'll be interesting to see where that one actually goes off down the line on that particular one, on that side of everything. So they either decided like, okay, Lars Sullivan goes out on a victory to make him not look weak going up to main roster, or he's still got more of what he's doing in NXT down the line. He's not quite done yet. We'll see how that one ends up playing out. But overall, I thought NXT was a very good show this week as well. So with that being said, like I said, we're not doing like news or anything to go along with that this week. So that is pretty much everything I've got for you guys this week. I'm going to try to go live again next week and go back to the traditional way of doing everything on that one. But we'll see how that one ends up playing out. We did do this one just recording and uploading for later. And hopefully we'll do live again next week. And we'll see how everything ends up playing out on that side. So with that being said, everybody, take care. Hope you enjoyed everything. And have a great rest of your day.